The Tolkien Road, episode 159, concerning Peter Jackson's The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. All right. There we go.
We're in business.
We're in business. Greta, what's up?
Hey, not much. What's up with you?
Not too much. Are you doing okay after that epic movie experience last night?
It was epic. I was very happy. I thought to take a nap yesterday afternoon.
Yeah.
I pre-napped so that I wouldn't fall asleep.
That's the way to do it.
Because I struggled through the last one. So yeah, it was good. Yeah, how about you?
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Recovered?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, it's full length, you know.
Yeah. It's not quite as long as some of the Lord of the Rings movies, though. Like
Right.
the extended editions, is it? I thought those were mostly like over 3 hours.
Right.
But maybe
Well,
not.
we didn't actually watch the extended edition.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's okay.
That explains why it
I
was
thought
over
about
3
it,
hours.
but I was like, it's already pretty long. Maybe one of these days we'll go back and do the Hobbit film extended editions, and
Okay.
or at least do them all three in maybe one episode, so we can talk about just the stuff that's
The
added
extras.
in. So yeah, thanks for joining us, everybody. We're talking
Thank
about Peter Jackson's The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug on today's episode, and as we have been known to do, after we finish a section of his books, and then there's a film that correlates with it, we go and we talk about that particular film and talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and anything else we feel like talking about with regard to the movie.
Yep.
So we are honored today to be joined by Sharon Burgess from Australia. Sharon, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Yeah,
I'm doing well.
We're good. We are just so thrilled that you're joining us.
Yeah.
This is really, really cool. From the other side of the world.
To be here. Thank you.
Make sure you're turned up there a little bit. All right. So want to make sure everybody can hear you just as much as us being loudmouths over here.
We were talking just briefly before we started recording about just the wonders of technology. Just the fact that we're being able to Skype and chat with Sharon, who's in Adelaide, Australia, literally on the other side of the world from where we are.
Yeah.
And she's being a real trooper because it's pretty late where she is right now. So.
Yeah, 14
Past my bedtime.
Yeah, past your bedtime. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Past most people's bedtimes.
Indeed.
Especially on a school night.
Yes. We are
yes.
doubly honored to have you on a school night.
14 and a half hour time difference. So
wild.
I was thinking that if you like drilled a hole through directly through the center of the earth from where we live, you would probably wind up somewhere close to where Sharon lives. So it's like, it feels like it's almost like literally on the other side of the world for us. So this is really cool.
Very cool. Yeah. Thanks for joining us, Sharon.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, so you may be wondering why Sharon is joining us, and so the story is that some of you may remember that when we did the first round of Hobbit episodes, we ran an Indiegogo campaign, and one of the tiers was to be able to join us on the film discussions, and I spaced the fact that we were supposed to have Sharon on the first film discussion episode, and so I felt really bad about that, and I said, Sharon, if you want to join us for the next two, you are absolutely welcome to. And so we're glad that we were able to correct that omission on my part, and then Sharon is going to have an opportunity to also share her thoughts on the first film as well toward the end of the episode, since she wasn't able to join us for that one. But before we dive into the film discussion, I wanted to give Sharon a chance to tell us a little bit about her own Tolkien fandom, and to tell us a little bit also. We'll start there, and then we'll get to the other thing that I wanted to, the specific thing that I wanted to to mention. So, Sharon, tell us a little bit about your own Tolkien fandom.
Oh, I guess it all started reading. I think I read The Hobbit first, and got sucked in, and then read The Lord of the Rings, and then went back and read The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings backwards and forwards, and probably later in life than most elementary age students, use an Americanism, but got completely hooked, and then I've read the Silmarillion several times and have read many of the Unfinished Tales and Lost Tales and all of the other books that have been developed over time.
Yeah.
Then when the movies came out, oh boy, that was it. It was on. So I went and saw them in cinemas here, and then when the extended versions, or the first day of the DVD releases, I had that one, and then as soon as the extendeds were out, I had that. They're on pretty much full time in my house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
a little bit insane. Still reading the books, trying to battle through the Silmarillion. I'm trying to do it with a map this time to try and get a better perspective of it. So my madness, probably the right word.
Obsession, maybe.
Has led to a large collectible collection, a big collection of collectibles from Weta Workshop.
Oh, wow.
And the Funko Pop vinyls, I've got all of those.
Nice.
I'd show you around the room, but it might be a bit embarrassing. And 2 trips to New Zealand to visit sites.
Wow.
And,
So tell us,
Hobbiton in particular.
Tell us what that's like, because we've never been, and I'm sure lots of people who are listening have never been. Although I know there are some people who listen to the podcast who have been as well, but I'm willing to guess that most people have not, because it's a long trip for most people to New Zealand, and it'd be quite an investment. I hope we can go one day, but tell us what it's like, Sharon.
Well, you know when they Frodo and Gandalf come through, and you see Hobbiton laid out before you with the site over the village, over the vegetable garden, right up to Bag End.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly like that.
Wow.
It is exactly
Neat.
Like that.
Wow.
And they have recreated it. I won't do any spoilers because they took a lot of movie tricks. But it is just stunning.
Wow.
And it took my breath away. I cried most of the first trip around Hobbiton, just so excited to be there.
Yeah.
You walk amongst all the Hobbit houses and through the garden, and they've got real bumblebees. And
wow.
They've got the massive bumblebees that are there. They tell you all the tricks about the movie. So,
neat.
And my favourite story is actually there's a pond or a lake, the Delving, in the middle of Hobbiton, and they were recording a scene, and they cut, and Peter Jackson said, "We're going to have to move those frogs." Because a whole heap of frogs had migrated from the big lake into the Delving because it was a bit murkier and a bit more froggy.
Oh, yeah.
And they'd gone in there and they were making way too much noise, so they had to hunt the frogs out of the Delving to do the scene. And they had to do it every time they wanted to go past the Delving because the frogs all hopped back.
They kept coming back.
They're frogs.
Oh, my golly.
Yeah. So no frogs were harmed in the production of The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings, I'm told. But
Good to know.
I'm pretty sure they were cursed a little bit. So
that's so funny.
Yeah, that's one of my favourite stories from that.
That's wild.
All of the money and they put into these films, and nature just doesn't care.
Yeah.
Oh, nature did quite a lot. Yeah,
right.
It was nature. I've had a few beers in the Green Dragon.
Oh, cool.
And that's actually a functional pub.
Wow.
And the topper of it all was the last. I went beginning of 2017. Was my first trip, and my second trip was December last year, 2018. I went twice in 36 hours. Once in the daytime on the 29th of December, and with my good friend Karen, who is also as mad as I am about it. And then we went back for the banquet. You can do an evening banquet tour. And we went back on the 30th of December, which was my birthday.
Oh, that's
so I spent my birthday in Hobbiton, and
man.
it was... And I still cried. I cried on my third trip the same as I cried on my first one. So it's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you get absorbed. We danced in under the party tree, and you take a little tour at night, and it's just amazing. And we ate like hobbits.
Do they actually have
awesome.
like actors who who like no okay
No.
So it's just just walk you can like walk around and just kind of see all the
There's
different
tours.
Locations, and
They have a tour that goes through day and night.
Okay.
And you pretty much go with it. It is highly populated.
Yeah.
So a lot of cruise ships go through around New Zealand, and they come off, and that's really a cattle herding exercise. They rush in there, and they're done in about an hour. But all the tours I've been on about 2-3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So make sure you get the right tour. Anyone coming, let me know. I'll sort it out for you. But it's just absolutely magic. Just magic.
Wow.
Is it remote? Like is it like
it's well hidden.
It is well hidden. Okay. Is like I mean, like I guess is there a place you fly into nearby, or is it like do you have to fly in somewhere and then drive a couple hours and okay.
So you can either you fly into Auckland, which is the biggest city but not the capital. Okay. In the North Island of New Zealand, and then they do day trips down to a place called Maramata, which if you're looking for it on a map, it's Mata. Okay. But because New Zealand has a Maori population, so that's their native or their indigenous folk. Okay. The actual word is Maramata. Mm-hmm. And just outside of Maramata is Hobbiton. Okay. And it's very well hidden, and the story of how it was found is just gorgeous. Mm-hmm. And the fellow who owns the land, they put everything up and took it down for Lord of the Rings, and then the rain set in, and they didn't get back to finish it. And then they said, actually, we need it for the Hobbit. And he goes, we'll leave it here this time because I'm making money.
Smart. Yeah.
So there would be 20, 30 tour buses go through a day. Uh-huh. Wow. At least.
Wow.
At least. And they have banquets and all sorts of amazing opportunities there. It's just stunning. So it really is.
The first after they made Lord of the Rings, they didn't maintain it, right? Like they let it go.
They started pulling it down.
Yeah. And then they kind of rebuilt it for the Hobbit in the same location.
They used fully sustainable materials, and it's I don't want to spoil too much because if you go, it's the magic is even more with the story. Mm-hmm. You could easily tempt me into telling you stories, but I won't.
I admire your self-control, Sharon. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it is. We do appreciate you, leaving plenty for people to go and discover on their own. But what a great teaser, definitely. Like to
absolutely
want to go, want to go myself.
Well, so Wellington, which is the official capital, it's right at the bottom of the North Island. Okay, that has a lot of the sites around, and I just did that one last time. Mm-hmm. Some very, very funny things happened there. Things like when they were filming the scene of the elven boats before Boromir's passing. Right. That was all shot about 100 metres from a highway. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Never know.
If you look very carefully in the scene where Aragorn flips his head, you can see a tower in the background that they missed.
Oh, no. I didn't know that. Wow. That's funny, because I've been hearing. We don't watch Game of Thrones, but I've been hearing about the Game of Thrones season, and like there's all these like mist, like a Starbucks cup and a mist water bottle and all this kind of stuff in the latest season, and so we'll have to keep an eye out for that next time we watch Fellowship of the Ring for the tower.
The tower.
Yeah.
It's sort of the bit where the Uruk-hai sort of coming on the scene, and they're looking into the forest to see what they can see from the river.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's where we need to look.
Yeah, but that was really close. All of the Lord of the Rings scene, the bit with the Nazgul right in the beginning where they're leading the shortcut to mushrooms, was filmed in a park at the top of Wellington.
Oh, okay.
With people just wandering past, wondering what was going on.
Oh, right. Man.
But it's pretty isolated, and no one really goes there, and he was very, very clever about it.
So Wellington is the place to go for other big like memorable sites from the movies. Okay. All right.
There's things all over New Zealand.
Yeah.
little bits and pieces. I've been to Edoras.
Oh, cool.
And which is just the mountain. That mountain actually exists as it looks.
Oh, wow.
But without the buildings and whatnot on it. So
did they actually build the buildings for the film?
Yeah, they were. The only thing that was stable was the floor of the Golden Hall.
Okay.
And the rest was facade.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and
wow.
the day I went there, the winds were at about 115 kilometres an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't translate that to miles. I'm sorry, I'm too young to do that.
It's probably pretty high, though.
It's probably it's probably like 50 miles per hour, which is really
that's gusty,
windy. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, might be a little faster. And I was actually half unwell, and I couldn't get my balance to climb Edoras.
Yeah.
So the tour guide took my camera up and took photos from the top, and it's very interesting when you do these film sets. So at the top of Edoras, if you look at where the Golden Hall was, if you looked back through the back of the Golden Hall, across sort of like a plain was the site for Helm's Deep. Mm-hmm. And yet they walked for how many days to get to Helm's Deep?
Right, yes.
Oh, man. You could have almost thrown a rock at it, you know.
Oh, man.
The magic of movies.
That is so cool.
Oh, wow.
Very, very
I feel like now I kind of feel like we need to just have like a special episode of like Sharon the tour guide for the film for the film sets, you know, like
yes.
This was the problem in Wellington, because we were in a small tour group of about 12, and my friend Karen's wandering along, and every time the guide said something, I'd answer the question, and in the end he got a bit upset with me, but all the other people would turn to my friend Karen and go, "Why isn't your friend the tour guide?"
Oh my goodness.
She knows so much more than this guy, you know. It was
wow.
Maybe
I had to learn to be a bit quiet.
Showing up the tour guide.
Maybe you found a new calling, right?
Yeah, maybe a summer job when you're not teaching.
Yeah,
yes.
that would be pretty cool.
They don't get paid very much, though.
Oh, I'm sure it's a dream. Yeah. I'm sure the experience is, just being able to do that.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things of where if you just being able to spend time there and doing that kind of stuff and talking about something you love, they the businesses take advantage of that, and they're like,
absolutely,
we don't have to pay these people a lot of money.
Right.
They love it already.
They do it for free, so we don't have to really pay them much.
Well, that's great. So Sharon, thanks so much for
that's fantastic.
Telling us about
anytime. Happy to talk about that until the hour of the day or night does not matter about that. Let me
anytime.
That's fantastic.
That's great.
Yes.
Well, I did want to ask you before we jump into discussion of the movie. What is your most prized possession in terms of your collection? What is your precious?
Oh, yeah. My precious.
Yeah.
My precious would be the elven leaf. That my friend Karen gave to me a couple of Christmases ago, but she actually bought it just after the release of the first movie.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
yeah.
Neat.
And it comes in a pin, and you can also put it on a chain.
Uh-huh.
And it's the original one, not the fake little ones that you can get on eBay.
Wow.
It's one of the original movie generated, so it was generated by the companies
it was
at
actually
the time.
for a prop. Yeah.
No, it's not. Well, it's not actually a prop. It's a complete replica of what they used in the movies.
Oh, wow. I see. Okay, yeah.
But it's one of the original releases of memorabilia at the time.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And that would be my precious.
Yeah.
That sounds
so
awesome.
It's actually like the is it like the brooch that they find on the ground, and you know what I'm talking. Is that what they call it? Like,
I'll be right back. It's over there.
But I'm trying to pick, but it's the thing that when they're tracking the
one that Pippin drops.
Yeah, he drops it so that they can track him.
Okay.
Yeah,
the one that they have clasped around them.
Right.
With
cloaks.
their cloaks. Got it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Neat.
Oh, how cool. Yeah.
And do you
Yeah.
I'm assuming you wear it. Like do you Yes.
I'm scared I'm going to lose it, but I'll wear it anyway.
Yes, I'm sure. Oh man, that
so
sounds
neat.
lovely.
All right. Well, let's dive on into to the discussion of Desolation of Smaug. All right.
Let's do it.
Yep.
So I thought the way we'd proceed.
It's on at the moment.
Oh, there. I actually thought about playing it on my own on the screen for us, so that we could kind of reference it randomly. But I was afraid I'd overload my computer if I did that, and the recording program would shut down. But maybe you can just turn your camera over there every once in a while and show us what's on, show us what's playing.
You can see all the collectibles in the background.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's impressive.
That is impressive. So wait, what are we looking at right now? I'm trying to see on the film.
In the two cupboards there, most of the Funko Pop. Oh, it's all the Funko Pops that have been released for both The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay.
And a good proportion of Weta collectibles.
Nice.
Nice. Very cool.
Some jewelry, including my gorgeous leaf, and I've got a Sting as well.
Oh wow!
In jewelry, and many copies in various formats of DVDs and Blu-ray and because I've got to have a copy wherever I go. So
absolutely, can't have too many. That's
Never.
Great. That's great. So what spot is the movie at right now? What's going on
We're just getting into Laketown.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm in the extended version.
Okay.
So I don't watch the others unless it's on Foxtel by chance. And it's funny how I have to watch it when it's on Foxtel. So,
the fish.
Yeah. They're just getting the fish.
The fish.
Yeah.
Getting fish dumped on them.
It's getting a bit fishy.
Yes. Yeah, I literally I always cringe at that part.
I love that scene. I think it's hilarious.
It's hilarious, but just the thought of just
all that
the fish and
on
the
you.
smell, like the sliminess and then the stink. Oh, I can't. Nah.
Well, so I thought how we'd proceed for discussing the film is just go through kind of the major beats of the film. So you've got and trying to overlap with the with the chapters in the book as much as possible, and then there's obviously a lot in the film that is not a part of the book, and so I wanted to we'll address that with the discussing subplots at the towards the end of our discussion. So
sounds good. Yeah.
So it starts off with Beorn.
Right.
So Beorn, I gotta say for myself, like Beorn was, I know coming into the film, I was really excited to see what they would do with Beorn, right? And that whole story. So, I'll start with Greta and like say, what did you think of the way Beorn was handled?
Was portrayed.
Yeah.
Yeah. In general, I thought it was pretty good. I thought, it was from what I remember reading in the book, I thought it was pretty true to how he was described in the book. I just wish he was a little more. Like I feel like that whole event was just shortchanged. I would have liked to have seen him interact more with the company.
Yeah.
But as far as like his changing, I really liked when he went from the bear to the man. I thought that was really cool. How they showed that. So overall portrayal I thought was very good. I just wished there was more to that scene.
Yeah.
To that interaction.
Right.
Yeah. What about you?
Sharon, what about you?
I feel exactly the same. It would have been nice to see more of him.
Yeah.
And perhaps get a bit of the flashback sort of stuff about perhaps what he went through in the struggles prior. And a bit, I think, the hatred of dwarves was portrayed, I think it was a bit tempered. It could have been a little bit more forceful. I think that might have been, it certainly would have been good comedy as they fell out of the door of his house.
Right.
I thought the character, the actor was brilliant. And certainly you got that feeling of pride of being what he was and the struggles that he'd been through. So, I tend to agree. I'd like to have seen more of him, but I haven't got through all of the appendices of the DVDs yet, so who knows? He might be more in there.
We can hope. We can hope.
Yeah, I know. For me, I liked the characterization. I do. Just in terms of like how maybe I pictured him and that kind of thing. I too felt like we maybe got a little bit shortchanged in terms of the amount of time we spent with him because he is a really interesting character in the book, and obviously a whole chapter is devoted to him in the book. And I gotta say, like, it's funny for me because I know one of the things that people will criticize the Hobbit films over is the way that they were like they took this book, right, and which was 300 pages basically, and turned it into 3 films. And man, I think a lot of people were like, I think you could have done it easily in 1 film. And yeah, I know originally the plan was to do it in 2, but what's funny to me is I felt like, and this isn't I'm not giving away my overall opinion of the film, but I felt like there was a lot of parts in the Desolation of Smaug where it's like they added stuff in, but then they kept stuff in the book out. Right. That would have been like I would have really liked to see translated.
Yeah, I
Case
totally
in point
agree.
here. Mm-hmm. I love the part where the dwarves are going in like in pairs, right? And like so that they don't make Beorn like too mad at first. I think that's a funny part.
It's really funny.
And they didn't.
And they just
didn't
keep
do
coming
that at all.
and coming, and no, they didn't.
Yeah. Extended version.
No, they do.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I should have seen the extended.
That's what I'm watching.
Well, now we know.
Yeah, I would have loved to have. It seems like it would be nice. Would have been nice to see that in the theatrical version. You know, so that because it is a humorous part in
it's memorable
in
too.
the book.
Yeah.
And I feel like all my criticisms, Sharon's going to be like, extended version. John, you should have watched the extended version.
I think I might be.
No, it's funny because we do own when we did the extended versions of Lord of the Rings, of the Lord of the Rings films, and those are the ones I watch. But then with the Hobbit, I just haven't bought them yet. So I need to go back and buy them.
Oh.
Yeah. Maybe for the third one, we'll do the extended edition.
I'm causing Sharon pain over there.
Yes.
Oh, dying.
She's rethinking this
She's
whole
about
experience.
to just hang up on us, be like, "I'm done talking to you." So
well, you've got a challenge now with the 5 armies. That's got some awesome extended stuff.
Okay.
Well, maybe
we'll do the extended.
Maybe that's what we'll do is we'll go.
The third one.
Maybe we'll. In fact, maybe since we have a little bit of time over the summer, we'll go ahead and invest in those extended editions of all 3 of the Hobbit films, and then maybe we can discuss the scenes that were left out in our Battle of the 5 Armies discussion. So,
okay, sounds good.
Yep.
Greta's over there like, oh my gosh, we're going to be watching 12 hours.
12 hours.
No, they're not. No, it's not anywhere near like the Lord of the Rings. It's not as long.
No,
oh, really?
Okay.
So it's probably closer to 10 hours then, because
9.5, 10.
9.5, 10. Okay.
But the 5 armies is far shorter than the others, the same as it is theatrically.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. The other thing, and this is a fine point, but I know they showed the big fireplace in the center of Beorn's house, like in the background of one of the scenes. Mm-hmm. But I was really hoping to see more of kind of
the
like
fireplace.
Because I feel like the description is a little bit different of his house in the book than it's kind of it almost seems like kind of a barn in the like kind of a messy barn in
in the movie.
Yeah. But and there's the and maybe this is in the extended edition too, but you see the animals in the book like going around like kind of they're like almost like servants.
Yeah.
They're like bringing stuff to them, and
yeah.
There's a little bit of that.
No, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any of that.
That didn't happen as well. I think that would have been way too much CGI for everyone to cope with.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to go because it's been a long time since I watched the animated film. The Ralph was it? Am I getting it right? We're gonna discuss that at some point. But it'll be interesting to go back and watch that and see how they do Beorn in that movie. All right, so. Any other thoughts on Beorn before we move on?
I think
Okay.
I'm good.
Good guy.
Yeah.
So Mirkwood, and the spiders. Mm-hmm. Sharon, I want to ask you: Are you a spider fan or a spider phobe? Yeah.
You and John both.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get some rippers here.
Do you?
I bet you do.
I know that.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
All the spiders in Lord of the Rings that creeped out during the ring wraith hanging, or the Nazgul over the top of that famous scene when they were under the tree.
Oh yeah.
All all of those bugs were from Australia, man.
Oh wow.
Wow.
I was gonna say, so, and help me out. Is Peter Jackson Australian or New Zealand? Okay.
No. He's a Wellington boy.
Wellington boy. All right.
Okay.
Well, I remember him saying though that Shelob was based on an actual type of spider that he was deathly afraid of when he was like a child, like some kind of nasty wolf spider or something like that. So I didn't know if maybe y'all had those there, or
we have wolf spiders.
Yeah.
We have
plenty of spiders
we have
to spare.
some rippers. They're deadly, poisonous, deadly.
Ooh.
Yep.
Really?
And New Zealand has one deadly spider, but it's like this big.
Oh, really?
Okay.
And it just if it gets you, it's not great, but it's not as bad as ours. That we've got redbacks that are lethal and
Black widows. Are you talking about the
black widows, and all? Oh, they're nasty. Yeah. And we've got an awesome strain of huntsman spider at the moment that is far quicker and far jumpier, and I've had a few in my house.
No, that's the worst when they jump.
And they don't last very long. I figure you're in my territory now, baby. You're gone.
Yeah.
Yes.
I actually, in my little studio here, I get these little. I mean, I think they're just like little garden spiders or something like that. But I open my door like every other day, and like literally there'll be a spider that just like run. It's like it's sitting in the door. It's like sitting in the doorway, and it'll run out as soon as I open the door. And I'm just like, why are you doing that? Like, go somewhere else, and you run away from me. Like, so, but it of course it creeps me out. Anyway, Mirkwood, and the spiders, Sharon, why don't you kick off our discussion of this part, in terms of what you thought about the whole journey through Mirkwood, and we're going up until they get captured by the elves. So kind of the portion where they're actually in Mirkwood and dealing with the spiders. Yeah.
Well, the theatrical version, the travel through Mirkwood is not greatly explored, but it's far more complex in the extended version.
Oh, really?
You get a better sense of how woozy they were with the magic that was floating around them, and the things that Gandalf speaks of as they enter Mirkwood about don't go in the water, there's a spell over the place, and all of that becomes a little more apparent in the way that they're behaving. And that don't go off the path thing becomes very relevant. Yeah. There's some quite humorous scenes in amongst all of that.
Okay.
The spiders I thought were amazing looking critters. They were, if you weren't scared of spiders, I think you should be now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I thought that whole thing played out really well. My favourite scene of all of that is when Bilbo climbs to the top of the trees and the blue butterflies come through.
Yes.
He spots evermore, so and how that all links together, and the naming of Sting was in there, and all of that. I think it was great. I mean, then there was a bit of ad lib, of course, with the capture and with the introduction of Tauriel. So that all played out so well. I think it all just knit together really nicely. Even on the theatrical version, you get a sense of things and they play with it, but it's explored more. Yeah. In the extended DVD.
Okay. Do they show the boat scene in the extended version? The boat scene where the they're crossing the stream, or they come to the stream in Mirkwood, and there's the boat on the other side.
No, they don't do that. They tackle it in another way.
Okay.
The boat doesn't.
Yeah, that was one that I was.
I was a bit disappointed. I was disappointed about that bit too.
Yeah, that wasn't nothing with the boat was in there, and but what can you do? I too love I'm really glad they included the part where Bilbo sticks his head above the canopy. Yes. Right.
I mean that was beautiful.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else. Of course, there wasn't the whole sense of like the darkness and like the eyes watching them from that you get in the books. No. You don't get like the red eyes, like insect eyes and everything like that. So I think that would have been a really creepy thing to like kind of introduce more of the spiders were coming, and also the fact that there's also something maybe more not quite friendly, but with the elves, but maybe not out to get you either. So, what was the other thing? Well, it'll come back to me. You go ahead and say what you thought about Mirkwood spiders.
Mirkwood. I wish that Mirkwood had been scarier. Like, I just remember when I was reading the book, like it gave me chills. Like somewhere that I would never ever.
You talking about pre-spiders? Because I don't think it can get any scarier than having giant spiders.
I'm talking about pre-spiders.
Okay.
Yeah, and just like the whole thing with the eyes, and you just really don't get a sense of just the creepiness of it. I don't think. I mean, there's like, I know you said they kind of go into more of that in the extended edition, but. I don't know. I really would have liked more of a sense of like just the darkness. You know, there wasn't enough dark. I mean, once the spider showed up, yeah, that's creepy and gross and everything. But I don't know. I didn't really like. I just thought it could have been a little bit creepier, darker, maybe.
Yeah, darker might have been good. I think. They had a scene. I don't think it's in the theatrical, where Bilbo's playing with the spider webs, and you can hear the spiders chattering. That's a bit freaky.
Yes, I know he plays with them a little bit.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that in the movie.
He plays with the spider webs in the theatrical, but I don't remember hearing the spiders chatting. Or maybe I did.
When he puts on the ring, you can understand what they're saying. Remember?
Yes. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And. Yeah, like the thing that I was going to say is I'm kind of disappointed they didn't work in more of the, even though it's a really kind of silly little, song. I wish they worked in the little Addercop poem, right? That he uses to tease the spiders.
Yes.
I feel like that's one of my general complaints about the the film, like the Hobbit films, is they don't work in as much of like, aside from the first, the chip the glasses and crack the plates in the first Hobbit movie, some of the sillier songs, I feel like they could have tried to work in a little more just to bring a little more note of humor. I feel like it gets heavy. It gets a little too heavy at times, and you lose some of the spirit of what this book actually was.
Yeah, you don't really get the sense that it was like a children's book. I mean, that's what it was written for. Yeah, they kind of make it a more make it heavier is a good word.
I think the word theatrical really sums up what was achieved in the end. It was a theatre piece.
Yeah,
and while it contains those elements, and I would not change a great deal about the whole movie set, but it certainly was a darker version.
Yeah,
and a more grown-up version, if you like, of the Hobbit.
Well, and
I agree.
There's the whole thing about, which I always am like, I got to go back and find that reference. But Tolkien did want, towards the end of his life, had amongst his many plans for writing that he never got around to, wanted to like rewrite the Hobbit in more of a style of the Lord of the Rings. So there is some, like, I know people, like, there's lots of people who will complain about all the changes and alterations and the embellishments and everything that Jackson made, but I feel like there is a little bit of justification in the fact that Tolkien himself, after he wrote The Lord of the Rings, was like, yeah, if I get a chance to do The Hobbit over, I might do it in a much different style. So it's an interesting thought to toy with when you're considering what Jackson did with the films.
That's true.
I do need to ask, what in the heck is the like white thing that Bilbo battles with that almost takes the ring?
What was that? Was it a crab?
Is that a baby spider? I think it's a baby spider.
Maybe. Is it like some kind of like little... Yeah. You think that's what it was?
They grow in the dark and they're all pale and yucky and born.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it seemed to me like
whatever it is, I'm glad he killed it.
Yeah. It seemed to me like it had a hard shell.
Yeah, it must have been.
It was almost like a crab or a crawfish or something.
It must have been some kind of like baby spider or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Hobbit-sized spider.
I gotta say, like, and I know they're trying to work in the whole thing with the ring in the film and like the effect, the influence it has on Bilbo even now, because. They're trying to tie it in with the Lord of the Rings and heighten the drama and everything like that. I really feel like the scene where, I don't know, it'll be interesting once I go back and kind of see the resolution of it all in for Bilbo's character in Battle of the Five Armies, but like I almost feel like it. I still don't know quite what to make of the whole thing where Bilbo just like completely loses himself and just like goes like berserk on this. You know, it's almost like showing that it's like Bilbo's becoming like a bad guy in some kind of way.
Where is this?
In the way he like goes after this the baby spider for over the ring.
Oh,
right?
then he's like mine.
Yeah, you know, it's like,
well,
which I know that's.
Think about Gollum's actions.
Yeah.
And that's part of that progression. Was that it was possession. The ring was a possession. It was his precious, and the killing of that spider or the whatever it was the beginning of Bilbo understanding the power that was held by this little teeny thing, and perhaps gaining more of an understanding of Gollum and the way he was turning out. And you could see, because he puts his hand over his mouth like almost vomiting with what he's done.
Right, yeah.
And it's that, I think that's a realisation of far out what the heck is going on here. I don't think there's comprehension in any grand form, but I think that he's starting to realise that this is not normal.
Yeah. Well, and there's, I think we talked about this too on the last episode, but, you know, there's the whole thing that Tolkien toys with when he was writing The Lord of the Rings, where he basically, you know, he basically kind of hints that the Hobbit, the story of the Hobbit that we have is Bilbo's own account of what happened on this adventure, right? And so Bilbo is maybe not going to tell about.
He's not going to say
the nasty. Yeah. Oh yeah, this ring was starting to have a really bad influence on me. You know, like, but maybe we're getting more of a you know, the realist version or something like that. You know, a more objective version here in the story. So
yeah, that could be.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
No one's going to say I became a bad guy. You know, they're going to say I was having this. You know, this was that influence is only shown. It's not an implied rather than spoken out loud. Yeah.
It's definitely an interesting little one point to think about for the film.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's okay. So let's move on to the Woodelves and barrels and then the battle down the battle of the barrels, maybe we'll call it
Battle of the Barrels.
So I guess I'll start here. So
okay,
I guess we're doing round robin to see who starts. And of course, this introduces Tauriel too. I like the internally to the what do they call it? The Hall of the Woodland King. Thranduil. I like the way they portray him. I actually do like how, you know, since we know now that Legolas is his son, I think it was very appropriate to include Legolas in this film. Even though he's not in the Hobbit itself, the book itself. So
it's a bit like that Bilbo portraying himself in the movie. This was the tie for the Lord of the Rings. Right. It was the tie of getting it all together to line it all up,
to link them.
And there's a very funny scene when the Woodland Elves catch them, and Legolas and Gimli Gloin have a moment.
Yeah. Yes. Where he's like, who's this? You know, who's this little guy?
Who's this monster looking dwarf mutant?
My son Gimli.
Right. Yes. Who you will one day be friends with and journey into the Westwood.
And go to the Undying Lands.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that was a cool connection.
Yeah, that is a cool little moment there. Tauriel, obviously a very controversial point for a lot of people. I totally, I get it. Like, in big movies like this, they want to have. I think maybe a lot of the reason. I don't think this is the entirety of the reason, but there's obviously the kind of romantic subplot between Tauriel and Kili, right? Not Feely, but Kili. And I think that's a big part of the reason she was introduced.
Also Legolas,
and then Legolas, right?
Tauriel,
and honestly,
the love
like
triangle.
the love triangle.
Exactly.
It's and I love Evangeline. I really like Evangeline Lilly. So
I do too.
It's hard for me to argue against having her in something, right?
Yeah.
And I did think it was funny, like now that she's Wasp in the Marvel movies, that she's like killing spiders, right? Because wasps are the insects that are known for killing spiders.
Yeah. Foreshadowing.
So neat she's well trained for that.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Indeed.
She did plenty of it as Tauriel. So overall, I'm fine with her being, with her introduction as the character. There might be some fine points in terms of, I know it's been a while actually since I've seen Battle of the Five Armies, so I know there were some things that I thought was a little weird about how her character is used in that film. But
can I ask a question real quick about Tauriel? Is she in the books anywhere?
No, she's
not.
completely.
Okay. I didn't know if she was like in the Silmarillion somewhere, and I just forgot.
Nope.
Okay.
No.
So she's completely a figment of Jackson's imagination.
Peter Jackson's imagination.
I mean, based on, there's obviously lots of elvish, elvish characters and legacy and that kind of thing to base a new elvish character on. So, it's not like
the name is nowhere.
Yeah, I didn't know. I'm not sure what. Sharon, do you happen to know where the name
I
comes
haven't
from?
come across it.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
That may be something interesting to look up later on. So I think the barrel scene is handled pretty well. I think actually it's a little more realistic in the movies the way it's done in the movies to think that like they're like, I always thought it's like, man, he had time to like seal them up in the barrels and for while they're
wouldn't have been half as much fun.
I know, yeah.
That's true. That is true.
And but I know that the whole battle down the stream is completely made up for the film. But I really like that. I think it's a fun part of the film, and this is a stretch in the book where I feel like it starts to get a little boring, right? Like these few chapters in the book start to get. I know we talked about this some on the podcast, but between the barrels and getting to the Lonely Mountain, it kind of drags. Now he doesn't drag it out. They're short chapters, but I really like so I completely understand why they were like, let's put a big battle scene in this, and I just think Bomber and his whole thing of like with the barrel and that whole little part of the scene bouncing around, and then he like breaks out and he starts doing the like the twirl.
Half the barrel still on him. Yeah.
I mean, just hilarious. I cannot help but laugh every time I see that. Funny. It's some really good kind of physical humor. So
yes.
Anyway,
I love Legolas jumping over their heads. I love that bit. And Dwalin's like,
yes, where he's standing on their heads and like surfing. He's like surfing down the river and using the dwarves as surfboards. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Thranduil too. I feel like they. The more sense we get of his character, I feel like they did a good thing by. I feel like they kind of went back to Thingol from the Silmarillion, the king of Doriath, because Thranduil. I have to even think that Tolkien, as he was writing The Hobbit, was like, well, this king is like this other king that I've created, Thingol, right? Who's the king of the Woodland Realm in the First Age, right? Of Doriath, who of course is Luthien's father.
Right.
And so I feel like and I feel like their personalities are very similar, Thranduil and Thingol. So I feel like I got a little bit of a hint of Thingol with the way they portrayed Thranduil here.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
but I've been blabbing a lot, so
you have.
You and Sharon, what do you all think about this part of the movie too?
Okay, here's my thing. I enjoyed it. I did. I didn't like the capture. I thought I didn't get the sense in the book that they were so mean. Didn't they like happen upon them feasting, and like they would see like these little visions of the elves like having their dinner, like their party or whatever, and then it would disappear. I thought the elves were too mean, and I didn't realize that that's who was capturing them until they actually got to the kingdom, and I was like, oh, okay. I thought they were a little nicer than this. So that was kind of my main issue.
Yeah.
There.
They just come out of nowhere.
They just come out of nowhere, and it's just like you didn't get any hints that there was. I guess again it goes back to in the theatrical edition. There just wasn't a whole lot of the magic portrayed that was going on in the forest, and I think if that had happened, it wouldn't have been as much a surprise of the elves just poof, here they are, right. And we're gonna kidnap you because you're dwarves anyway. So I didn't love that, but the whole barrel scene, I enjoyed it. I thought it was comical, like what you were saying. What I thought it kind of erred a bit on the side of cheesy, only because up to this point, I feel like the movie we just talked about, it had a much more grown-up flavor to it. It was much heavy. It was much more heavy. So then I felt to go from that to that barrel scene, it was just too much of a jump for me. Now, if there had been like little hints of humor or lightness preceding it, I think I would have been like, oh yeah, this is fine. But because you went from one extreme to the other, I was just like, I chuckled and I thought it was funny, but didn't necessarily fit super well for me. So anyway, that's just my slight criticism, I
can
guess.
see that.
But I'm interested to hear what Sharon thinks.
Yeah.
I can see that the way the elves behaved was sort of harkening back to the whole issue created in the first movie, in the telling of the when Smaug got to Erebor, and the scene where Thorin comes out and he asks for help, and they turn around and leave. And I think that was to set that up again.
Yeah, it did. That's true.
Get that feeling of elves don't want anything to do with dwarves, and you're in our town, and we don't like you, and so you're coming with us. And
right.
there are little pockets of humour in that where they're stripping Philly of all his weapons, and they keep finding them under the lapel down his back. And they even find one as they're shoving him into the cell, and Kili's interactions with Tauriel with the, he said, well, aren't you going to search me? I could have anything down my trousers. And she said, oh, no.
Right.
Those sorts of things lighten it up a little bit.
That's true.
That scene was just to give the dissonance between the two cultures, and to give that perspective, so that when Thranduil and Thorin have their meeting, it's on edge already. You're already on edge.
True. Good point.
Because Legolas has set that all up. Legolas has given that, because he was quite a bitter young elf. Yeah. So, very much, you could see the control that Thranduil had over him, and in his character. I think Orlando did a brilliant job, to be honest. And I know he's not supposed to be in the book, but I don't care. It's Orlando Bloom.
Exactly. So, that's what I was going to say too. I'm not going to complain about him. Yep.
Well, that's kind of what I was saying about Evangeline Lilly. I'm like, I can handle looking at Evangeline Lilly for a little while.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, she's not too shabby to look at, and she's got a great, her character's just so lovely.
Yeah.
In this, I think I think that she gives Peter Jackson to put a strong female role model into the movie. Where Professor Tolkien wasn't necessarily on the feminine or the feminist rights movement for his time, which was quite normal. But I think Peter Jackson took the opportunity to give a strong female character in Tauriel, and she was pretty. She was pretty good.
She's good.
So she knew her stuff and she knew how to get it over. So I think that whole thing, the barrel scene, just cracked me up non-stop, and and even getting right down to the end of that was hilarious, I thought. So
Yeah.
I think the plot twist with the love triangle was lovely, and I think that Tauriel was in there to soften Thranduil in the end.
All right. So, next in the order of business is Laketown, Bard and the Master and that whole segment of the film. So, Greta, it's your turn.
Oh, is it my turn?
It's your turn.
I loved the way Laketown was done, like the actual town. When they panned across it and you saw like it was literally built like on this lake, which I thought was really cool. It was almost exactly how I pictured it when I was reading it in the book. So I really liked that, and just even the people and just kind of the culture that the dwarves experienced there, I thought was pretty fantastic, really true to the book. Now I can't, this is a shame because I know we talked about it not that long ago, but I can't remember. Bard doesn't make an entrance yet, does he? Have we talked about Bard?
And he's the
I mean, I know who he is, but in the chapters that we've discussed so far,
he's the barrel man, isn't he? I mean, he's the guy on the raft, isn't he? Or do I have that wrong?
Yeah, he collects the barrels from the woodland realm.
Okay, right, and he's named as Bard in the book.
I believe so.
Okay, see my memory.
Well, here, you got the book right here.
His name actually may not have come up just yet. You might be right, but
but
I haven't read the book for a little while.
Gotcha. Okay.
But, yeah.
Yes, that was just it's because I know he's mentioned later in the book. I just didn't remember knowing his name. But anyway, that's really neither here nor there. I liked him. I liked him a lot. I thought the way he was portrayed was very well done. Mm-hmm. And
yes.
and some humor in that scene too. Of course, we were just with the fishes and him smuggling them in. What I really liked too is I feel like this is where Balin, I think, begins to take he takes more of a central role in the journey here. Like he's the one that negotiates with Bard, convinces him to smuggle them in, and I really liked that. And what was the other thing? Oh, the master of Laketown. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the master. Yeah.
Yeah. He was creepy, but maybe he was supposed to be. I don't know. He reminded me of someone, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Like maybe a character from, I don't know, like Willy Wonka or something. I don't know. He seemed a bit comical and creepy to me. But I really can't take any issue. I think as far as the movie goes, I think I really liked the whole Laketown, how all those events were handled. I really can't take much issue with it. I really liked the part with the, I guess what was interesting to me was Bard, and he's obviously helps get them in to Laketown. And then he starts putting two and two together about the prophecy, and then, and then he totally does an about face, and he's like, "Whoa, these guys need to go. Like we're not, we're not going to deal with this dragon." And then it becomes him against basically the whole town. Like the whole town, including the master, welcomes the dwarves and is all about helping them. So,
it's all about money.
Yeah, it's all about money.
Yeah.
It is all about money because they want to share in the horde. Absolutely. So I felt a little bad for Bard there. He was fighting an uphill battle, clearly.
Yeah.
But anyway, Sharon, what are your thoughts?
Oh, the entry into Laketown over the misty lake and down the river and all that, I thought was spectacular. Really, really well done. And the fish, of course, that was hilarious, especially Dory's as they hit his head. I love that bit. That's hilarious to me. And the master, Stephen Fry, is amazing. And I thought he portrayed exactly how I thought the master was. Slimy.
And greasy.
Sneaky,
yeah.
And below the law. And, and Alfred as the sidekick. And I can't remember how much of Alfred we knew of before, but the character was certainly a good foil for it all.
I don't think Alfred... Is Alfred even in the book at all?
I don't know that he is.
I don't think so. Yeah,
I don't remember him if he is.
Well,
yeah, but I think it was a perfect foil.
So, and Sharon, real quick, I looked at I couldn't find Bard's name in those chapters.
Okay.
About the. So
I do remember the barrel man though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. Sorry, Sharon.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
Okay, I'm glad my memory isn't that bad yet. Yeah. But anyway.
I think definitely watch the extended version of this because there's more of a master in it that will really gross you out.
Oh.
And if you think he's gross now, Greta, you are just going to,
Yikes! I don't know that I can handle it.
Yeah. he's quite gross, but it's quite humorous at the same time. And that whole flip, just on the, the promise of money to, money over reason. Was the whole flip on Bard, and he was he had to lose the battle so that the rest could go on.
Absolutely, but, yes.
That's just that whole question about humanity, really, across the board. So,
what matters?
I like that scene. I think it's got some good funny parts in it, especially the little chase with the police type people chasing them through the markets and things there, and Stephen Colbert's in that scene.
Oh, is he?
Really?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember he was okay.
The eye patch on, and
is that him?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
I did not know.
We forgot to mention at the very. Speaking of cameos, at the very beginning of the film, the first person you see in the movie is Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
Right. Did you realize that?
Nope.
When they're when they show the flashback to Bree.
When Thorin's walking through Bree.
Yeah. Yeah. The guy steps out and eats a carrot and bites off a carrot.
Peter Jackson?
That's Peter Jackson.
And he does it in Lord of the Rings as well.
Oh, does he? Oh, okay.
Funny.
Yeah, right.
Well, it's in Lord of the Rings. He's like a drunk, right? He's like drunk or something like that. But he's
with a
carrot
carrot
as well. Oh, okay.
And another fun fact for you: a very well-known musician in Adelaide, is by the name of Adam Page, who's jazz saxophonist, and he does a lot of work with kids, and he's brilliant muso, is actually in the scene in Bree, in the background. And I was looking at it one day, and I thought, God, you look familiar. And I kept looking, and then by chance someone texted me and they said, we're just watching The Hobbit, and I'm like, well, duh. And they said, and Adam Page is in it, and I'm like, I knew I knew.
That's who he is. Oh, that's fantastic.
That's fun.
That's very cool.
Real cameos are all over the place. Peter Jackson's in each of the movies.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, and it does. I guess that shouldn't surprise anyone.
Right,
if I was a director of a big movie too, I would probably want to put myself in a cameo in some kind of way. So
rumor has it, Frame Walsh tried to edit him out several times and managed not to succeed.
Oh wow, that's terrific. Love it.
So.
What are your thoughts, John?
Oh, me? Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about Laketown and all the things?
I think it was well put together, and like you said, just to be able to see that whole town and the way that the boats on the lake and all of that, the way it linked together, and and certainly the escape out of it was spectacular in the next one, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Just real quick, I remembered last night our 11-year-old was watching the movie with us last night, and when it got to the part with Laketown and they kind of panned over it, he leaned over to me and he said, "That looks like Venice." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I can see." I mean, he's never been to Venice, but just pictures.
I think Venice is a little more picturesque.
I think it's definitely more picturesque, but the whole water, just the fact of the, with the water being such
I totally know what he
kind
means.
Of running through the town. I thought that was a neat little kind of
well done.
Connection he made.
Yeah, I think obviously this chapter is really short in the book too, and there's not a lot this was one of the chapters where we were like, this is kind of a boring chapter. So, I understand why they embellished it a good bit.
They did, yeah.
And I thought a lot of it was fun. I like how they, I do like how they flesh out Bard's character a little bit more. He's got the 3 kids, and
you get a sense of kind of his the stake he has in this. I'm assuming his wife was lost as a result
she
of.
Passed, yeah.
But was it as a result of
the Dale? I don't think it was because of Dale. I think it was later because I don't think he was even born when
these are men. These aren't
Dale, right?
These aren't like elves that live forever. Okay,
yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I like the way they they show a lot of like Laketown, and it's kind of a, it's a place that's definitely seen happier times. Not a very nice place to be living right now, and certainly like the Master is I think fleshed out pretty well. He's kind of he's this type of person who considers himself above everybody else, but you look at him, you're just kind of like,
you're a joke.
Yeah, you're like,
Great.
Why are you like,
Nice.
You're kind of conniving and you're obviously intelligent and conniving, but like, you're not like, there's just like, he's this very devious guy who does everything for money and power, and but
that's not really in the book, is it? Because I mean,
we'll see more of that in later chapters.
There's hints of it.
Yeah,
there are hints of it in the book.
Okay, because I thought that the what I remembered from reading is that the Laketown people were pretty willing from the beginning to help.
This is not a man in the best sense of like Rohan and Gondor. Like this is a man like this is a ruler, like who is what's the right way of putting it? Just like he's calculating.
Let's put it that way.
By
What's
what?
that?
He's not there by election. He's
Right.
self-appointed in some way, or
yeah.
it would have probably been a passed down role.
Right.
Inherited. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very old England style politics.
Well, and he's just calculating. He's always like,
money.
And for money and power, it's like, what do I need to do to maintain? Like, I don't really care about doing the best. It's the whole thing about dumping the fish out of the barrel, like. It's not until Bard, and I know that wasn't the Master, but it's obviously the guy. What's the guy's name again that works for the Master?
Alfred Lickspiel.
There's a not very nice name.
I love
it. Who's very much so he worked. He's obviously kind of the Master. Is the Toady the right word? Kind of the Master's. Toady doing all the things for him and everything, right? Helping to prop him up and keep him in power. And there's the scene where he wants to dump the fish over the side, even though Bard's like, everybody's very hungry.
Shortage of food.
And it's like, I don't care. And it's not until Bard's like, well, wait until word spreads that you, representing the Master, dumped all the fish, right? That when people are hungry, and then he's like, yeah, that'll make it harder. So he doesn't do the right thing because it's the right thing. He does the right thing because he realizes it's going to make him look bad if he does something. Right. It's going to make the Master look bad if he doesn't do something else. So,
right.
So overall, I like. I think Laketown needed some embellishment because we don't, especially early on, we don't get a lot of it in the book.
What my question is with the leaving behind of Fili and Kili and who was it that missed the boat? It was
Oin and Biffa.
Oh, yeah.
Oin and Boffa.
Was the whole point of that just to kind of help that romantic thing between Tauriel and...
Yeah, you'll see more of that in the Battle of the Five Armies and the whole point of that.
You get to see more of the good elf, good elf deeds.
Gotcha.
So that's sort of, she stayed to help and... so that was sort of...
helping to restore kind of the relationship between the elves and the dwarves. I did really like that scene where she's using the herbs and, doing the spell or the prayer, whatever it is, to heal. Is it Fili? Kili? Which one?
Kili, yeah.
I thought that was really beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's see. Next is getting to the mountain, finding the door, and our introduction to Smaug up until the battle with Smaug. So I think it's Sharon's turn. Yeah.
Sharon, start us off.
Oh, I loved it. I loved every little second of that. The getting to the mountain, I found it a little hilarious. It's like, we can't find it. Oh, there it is.
Right.
That tickled me a little bit. The scene to get into the mountain, I thought was really well done with the dwarves giving up because they weren't getting their way, and there was the 2-year-old Tanty going on.
Yes.
And Bilbo's like, well, come on, hang in there, sort of thing. And the opening of the door and everything was very powerful. And of course, Bilbo's interactions with Smaug were sensational, and reasonably true to the book. There was a few little bits left out, but even in the extended, it would have got a little boring, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. But I loved all of that. Smaug, I adore. I think he is just amazing.
Yes.
And Benedict Cumberbatch's, his voice is just superb, in my opinion.
Yes.
And the way that they recorded all of that, if you ever I don't know if you've ever
seen
that.
a little bit of the behind the scenes.
For all of his, they record his face, right? For all the
he was in a blue suit, like a blue screen suit, and they had like nodes attached to him and a thing to do the recording on his face, and so all of the actions of Smaug were
his actions.
Benedict. Yeah. So
like even like the wings and the tail and everything.
Added really all that on. And the look on Bilbo's face when he goes to run away and realizes that the other end of the dragon is way over there.
Yes.
Right.
That's just awesome.
Brilliant.
And the eye opening, just lovely.
Yeah.
And that whole interaction. And I think the character of Smaug was really well kept in that slightly flattered but not going to get conned into it, and figuring out what was going on around things. I thought that whole scene was really well delivered. I'm sure that, with time and money, everything can be better, but I think for what it is and what it was, it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
And of course, then, the whole scenes with them getting into the mountain and the big epic end of the scene, love it.
Yeah.
Just love it.
Yeah.
And Thorin's downfall during that time, that's when it began. When he lays eyes on all that gold, you can almost see the light go on. Ding.
Yeah.
And he becomes like the master and like all of these people that he has fought against for so long. So but no, I just loved it. I thought it was very clever. In most of the sections were very, very clever the way that they were delivered. And and it sort of gets hard not to tie it over into the Battle of Five Armies now, because we're right at that point.
Yes.
Right.
The thing that struck me with Thorin's reaction when he, like you just mentioned, when he sees all that gold and treasure and that that kind of switch takes place, it was very reminiscent of the effect that the ring is having, that we know is, that's beginning to have on Bilbo and that we know has on Frodo. It's a very similar, it's a very similar, response to just being possessed by something that, that's worldly and, fleeting. Anyway.
Well,
yeah, your turn.
I obviously the star, it's all a build up to Smaug in this film, and and I just have to say, like, for all of the for the criticisms that are put out there about the movie, like I feel like Smaug is they just nailed it with Smaug.
Couldn't have been better, I don't think.
He's just like, the things that Bilbo says about him, like, what's the whole line about truly the tales that have been told of you do not do you, whatever.
Right,
I'm paraphrasing,
justice.
but
and
I feel like that's true. That's like how he comes off. It's like, I knew you meant a dragon, but I had no idea this is what a
larger
dragon was
than
really
life.
like.
Yeah, words just can't describe.
He's just.
I love the scene where Smaug gets down really close to him, and Bilbo goes,
yes,
yeah, right.
Stinky breath.
It's dragon, one hell of a morning breath.
Right,
oh, yeah.
Dragon breath. It's not a compliment.
Well, and I love the fact that he's sleeping under all the gold. So here's this like big, strong, like incredible beast, and he's like just and all he does is like lie around until somebody disturbs him. And
he's got gold fever just the same as Thorin had and the Master had.
And I like the part.
The same fever.
Oh yeah. Well, I like the part where I like how initially he's kind of slithering around like a snake.
Yeah.
And but then he obviously he flies and everything. But I love the part where he stands up and he's like, well, do they
look at me now?
Look at me, right? Behold my amazingness, right?
Yes.
Yes. And I think the dialogue with with Bilbo, which is one of the best parts in the book.
Mm-hmm.
I think they do a good job with that.
They do.
It was that truly the tales fall utterly short of your magnificence,
right.
or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see Smaug just go, damn straight.
Yeah, right.
Well, duh. Right.
Yeah.
It took you long enough to notice.
Yeah. So, I just can't find any fault with Smaug and they do change kind of the order of some of the fine points in the book.
Yeah.
There's Bilbo actually goes in twice, and the dwarves never actually
go in. No.
Go, attack, have a battle
no
with
battle
Smaug, a direct battle with
mountain.
Smaug in the book.
Right.
So that is a change and a pretty significant embellishment. But honestly, I really like the battle too.
Yeah, I can't take any issue with that.
Yeah. Anyway,
so
go ahead for your.
Well, yeah, I would just to backtrack a teeny bit about the finding of the door. I really liked the way that was done because I feel like in the book it was drawn out way too long. So I really liked how it kind of happened rather quickly. They got there just in time. Bilbo's the hero. And the thrush. Yeah, I thought that was really good. And I think you guys have said everything I was going to say about Smaug. It's just he's just spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
The portrayal is, it's just spot on.
I think we've got to remember all the time that Alan Lee and John Howe worked on these characters on the films.
Mm-hmm.
That their input and their drawings were where all of these things came from.
Yeah.
And so, that they actually are in some of the movies, actually. I think one of them is one of the ring wraiths.
Interesting.
The
Okay.
Dead, John Howe, I think, plays one of the Dead Kings. So, but their input, it's a bit like when people go and see Bohemian Rhapsody and they go, things are out of order. Well, Brian May and the other guy, the drummer, and I'm getting tired now, they worked on that with them. So there's sort of some sort of inherent permission to do what has been done from the people that worked on the books,
Right.
So
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I also too love the interaction between Bilbo and Smaug. I thought that was just I think my favorite thing is Smaug the tyrannical.
Right. Yeah. That's truly stupendous. Or I love whenever anybody uses the word stupendous because it just sounds like such an old fashioned word that
Yes.
And you we think stupendous must mean stupid, but it means beyond amazing,
right.
Beyond
it's
awesome.
Better than spectacular. And I think what I really like too with the whole Bilbo and Smaug scene is you see this, obviously the size differential between the two is just, it's beyond large.
Stupendous.
Yeah, it is. It's truly stupendous. But I think too, it really, just the way that Bilbo hangs in there with him and keeps trying to get the Arkenstone. He doesn't give up and just run away. He's really... So I think it really does a good job of portraying just the growth in Bilbo from this time of being a quiet, loving, tea drinking hobbit to now a truly courageous burglar who's willing to just literally go toe to toe with a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite scene, one of my most favorite things of Smaug is when Thorin's atop the big gold poured
the king
statue of Thror, and you look out and Smaug's displayed in the hall, and his whole body is seen, and the enormity of him is paramount, but the glory of him is magnificent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Thorin has the audacity to call him a witless worm at that point, and I think, geez, man, you got kahunas.
Yes.
You've got a pair on you, I tell you.
and just a little bit of spite towards him. Just a little bit of spite towards him. I love the whole tradition of referring to a dragon as a worm, because we think of worms as little significant, insignificant little things that live in the ground without even a face, and so it's a funny insult, I guess.
I do love the. Oh, yes. Have we talked about the battle with Smaug yet?
No, go ahead and jump in. Honestly,
no, I was just gonna say, clearly an embellishment. That's nowhere in the book, but I mean, it was a fun thing to watch.
Yeah.
Just so much action. Definitely some humor. I loved the part where the gold pouring of who was it again?
Of Thror.
Of Thror.
Yeah, the statue of Thror
melts, and you think that you think that they're, oh my gosh, this dragon's gonna drown in melted gold, right? And like he's like his just his lust for gold is gonna be the end of him, but instead he bursts out completely gold plated, right? And you're just like,
it looks amazing,
yeah. So pretty. Yeah.
Well, and and I think a lot of this was really like just so fitting to just show Smaug's greatness, because in Tolkien's world, a dragon was like pretty much like on the like. I mean, a dragon it's almost like a Balrog, like in terms of its just sheer power. And the greatest ancient warriors, would try to go up against dragons. The fact that this dragon took out this entire kingdom single-handedly, right?
Single-handedly.
Like this is not
against
just
dwarves who are
this is not
pretty
just
good
some
warriors.
Beast, right? It took out this entire kingdom, really two kingdoms because of Dale, single-handedly. And so this is.
And he was only like 100th the size of Ancagalong, who was the first, who was the biggest of the dragons, but they are the pinnacle, they are the top of the food chain, dragons.
Yeah.
Yes. They are the pinnacle of power and greed.
Well, and
Morgoth,
Morgoth's like one of his greatest creations, or whatever you call it, right? So I think they just nailed Smaug, which is maybe the most important thing they needed to do to make this film,
seeing that he was in the title,
a success.
So you can't beat the I am fire, I am death.
I know. Well, at
the end.
I love the. I was gonna say I love my favorite thing that he says. I do love that part. I love that as as a way to finish this film. But I love Bilbo. My favorite thing that Bilbo refers to him as is the greatest and chiefest of calamities.
Yes.
Right. Yes. I love that, man. Yeah. I think that's in the book too. I think
it
is.
It is.
One of the things he says in the book.
Yeah. Yeah, it's spot on. I thought too it was very moving when the dwarves are in the mountain and they're trying to escape. I think it's before the battle, but they enter into like that crypt, kind of where they find the bodies of all their ancestors who perished, at the hand of Smaug, and it's very touching, but it also kind of lights the fire too for gives them even more reason to. It's like a visual remembrance of, this is why we're here, revenge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was wondering about that. I was like, this is really not important, but like my scientific brain started wondering, like, would these people be covered in like, wouldn't they be decayed? And I was like, what are the physics of this? So they're basically in a underground, right? And so would they decay, or would they be covered in cobwebs and kind of mummified?
Mummified.
They've been mummified. Yeah.
So is that right? Is that right in terms of the? I'm being a nerd. I'm sorry.
You are being a total nerd.
I didn't really question it in my scientific.
Yeah.
It's not really worth questioning. So
I can see why you would.
I'm like, we're talking about dragons, and I'm like, well, technically it wouldn't be, technically these people shouldn't be mummies.
Technically they should have been skeletons.
Yes, right.
We shouldn't be able to see their face and their hair.
But the dragon was totally cool.
Just been parts of that.
The whole battle scene is just under the mountain is so much fun, and I feel like was very worthy of being included in the film. And I love how they plot, and I remember seeing it for the first time and thinking like, oh man, maybe they like that was actually like a pretty brilliant way to try to kill Smaug. Is like let's drown him and douse him in molten gold, right?
Yeah.
And that'll just weigh him down so much that he's basically, and then they have their trophy, right? Their dragon trophy to show for it, going forward.
They have a mummified, gold-plated dragon.
Yeah,
trophy.
But it's just like, no, not even that's going to work on the dragon.
Oh, no. The mistake they made was to rile him up before they tried to drown him.
Yeah,
that's true. He had some adrenaline running through his veins.
He made the connection with Laketown, however thin it was, but he'd made that connection, and if that connection hadn't been made, then he wouldn't have been as mad, and he might not have made it out of the gold.
That's true.
Right.
That's probably true. Yeah. Again, it's the thing that Bilbo ends up regretting saying, right? Barrel Rider. That was kind of that's what makes him, he's like, barrels only come from one place around here. So,
yeah.
All right. So, one other. So we talked about Tauriel and Kili, and there'll be more to talk about with them on our discussion of the next film. Dol Guldur. So this is the other big subplot, and Dol Guldur and being hunted by these orcs still. This is another subplot. It's really an addition and an embellishment. Although we know that from Tolkien's own notes, and I believe from Unfinished Tales, that Gandalf in fact he was going and he was up to something down in the south of Mirkwood, and that's why he didn't journey through Mirkwood with them.
Right.
So, there is basis in what Tolkien himself wrote, right? For all of this, but just want to talk about all of the subplot with Dol Guldur and Gandalf being there, and just and the orcs hunting them, and get your thoughts on that part of it. Did you like that? Not so much. What do y'all think?
Go ahead, Sharon.
I liked it. I thought it. I think that a bit like Tauriel, a bit like the extra battle scenes, a bit like more exploration of Laketown. It's giving you another window into Tolkien's world, and it's giving you another reason to go, well, I wonder what that was all about. Where can I find out? And then Google happens, and then books get bought, and so it's a fantastic little round trip into discovering another world. And if that sort of thing hooks one more person, then that's one more person that's fallen into the sickness that is Tolkien.
Right.
A joyful, beautiful sickness.
In the beautiful, beautiful sickness.
Yes.
I think that it demonstrates a bit of the growing power of the development of Sauron back into his Lord of the Rings days, and the power that he held over space and time. And leading into Battle of Five Armies, with the wizards and Galadriel go to Dol Guldur to rescue Gandalf. That subplot just gives more catalyst into Lord of the Rings. It's giving, so if someone's not seen Lord of the Rings and goes to see The Hobbit, you've got another audience. That's another DVD that's bought or rented, or someone else to fall in love. And it's just, I think that it's clever, and it takes more of the writing and more of the reading to another level to make it more accessible to more people, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that, as a teacher, that's what we try and do all the time, is like, the more you can give and the more that you can inspire curiosity, the better it is for everybody.
Yeah. Well put. Yeah. You make a good point. I didn't love it or hate it. I excuse me. I could have done without it completely. I mean, I don't know. I'm just kind of a purist when it comes to these things. I was willing, I'm willing to give on the Tauriel Kili thing because it's, I'm a romantic at heart, and I think that's fine. And also I'm fine with Legolas because it's, like we said, Orlando Bloom. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I could have done without it. But Sharon, I do appreciate your kind of interpretation of it, and I think you make a strong argument for why it should be there. It was just extra that I did like that kind of one of the final scenes where Gandalf is, he's all the black smoke or whatever it was is swirling about him, and he's, holding the, I don't know what he's doing, but his staff. His staff, yeah. And it's clearly like a very stark good versus evil moment, and I liked that. I felt like it just didn't It didn't it just wasn't necessary, and I didn't think it almost seemed like it wasn't incorporated super great for my, it just seemed like a stark, it was almost like hit pause, we're gonna go here, and now we're back. I just didn't feel like it was integrated super well.
It's sort of also tied in one of the armies. So one of the 5 armies comes from Dol Guldur.
Setting the stage and
setting the scene, and Azog and Bolg in the movies role in their connection with the necromancer. Those sorts of little connections. I think it was a tidy up and a little bit of an insight into.
Yes.
That's my opinion.
No, I totally get it. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I would have felt disappointed if they hadn't told us more about Dol Guldur in the Hobbit movies, right? So, because it's completely, I don't think it's ever mentioned in the Hobbit itself, but we know from, like I said, from Tolkien's other writings that that's where Gandalf was going, and that's what he was concerned about, and that gives a lot of the background for why this mission was even important in the first, why Gandalf cared about a bunch of dwarves going back to, their ancient home kingdom in the first place, right? So I feel like it would have been an oversight not to include some stuff about it. I could have maybe done with a little bit less of it, but I do remember that it factors into a lot of we're setting up background for the Battle of the 5 Armies as well.
Which I still haven't seen Battle of the 5 Armies.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
I wouldn't even know that that's what the purpose of it. Oh no, we're seeing the ceiling. That's not a good sign.
She can't bear to look.
I'm sorry. I just fell greatly in Sharon's esteem for me. No, I want to see it, and especially now that I'm rereading the book.
Well, you'll see it. You'll see it soon enough.
Yeah.
But overall, it's cool to get a glimpse of Dol Guldur. I've kind of been doing the math in my head, and it's been a while since I've seen Battle of the 5 Armies, so I'll have to see how they handle this. But I feel like it's weird to think about Gandalf being so having to discover in Lord of the Rings that Sauron has returned, but then he's 60 years earlier he's doing battle with him, direct head-on battle with him in Dol Guldur. So I'm like,
I don't think Gandalf ever thought that Sauron had gone away after he'd been vanquished. I don't think that ever happened, and he was always on edge.
Yeah.
In that 60 years, and even prior to the Hobbit, when they're sitting at the White Council in the first movie, and he says, "Are we at peace?
Yeah.
Trolls are doing this, and orcs are doing this. Are we at peace?" So those questions are ever in his mind about the state of Middle Earth as a whole. And I think that he's just got this, and this is why he became the White, because he had all of this. Saruman didn't have all that crap. He had bigger power plays to make, So Gandalf was the guy on the ground,
Yeah, that's a good point.
His perceptions, and while he'd been vanquished to the east, Galadriel and Elrond never thought for a second either. Saruman was the only one who said, leave Sauron to me. That becomes so obvious in the Lord of the Rings that right from then there was trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it'll be fun to go and watch Battle of 5 Armies once we get through the next several chapters and see how this all wraps up.
Yeah, and the other thing I will say just about kind of that subplot is, as evil and horrible as they are, I do enjoy. I really like what they did to portray orcs in the movie. So. That's just, it just blows my mind every time. Just how scary and horrific they were able to make those guys look. So, if it's an opportunity to see more orcs, it's fine with me. Just because I think it's amazing.
Lots of orcs in the next one.
Yes, that is true. That is true. Yeah, so another reason to look forward to that, I guess.
Yeah.
Not that I like orcs. I'm not trying to say that. I just like the way they're portrayed in the movie, I think.
Well, it's
really
like saying,
you don't like Smaug, but
you don't like Smaug, but
right.
but but you like the way
well
it's
done.
portrayed.
Yeah,
you know,
well done.
It's kind of like me in Gollum. I'm like, I kind of like Gollum, even though he's despicable and
he's also pitiable.
Absolutely.
You know,
yeah.
So any other big things that we didn't get to or talk about that either of y'all want to mention? I think that about covers it, but
I mean, just like just kind of in general.
Yeah.
I mean, the cinematography and the music. I mean, just always spot on. Yeah. Absolutely.
I feel like the music in this. I mean, it was good, but there wasn't anything that stood out for me.
No, but every time the little my father's world,
the Hobbiton theme.
Yeah, the Hobbiton theme.
Yeah.
Every time, like I was listening for that, and every time it kind of harkened back. I did love it. But you're right; it's not as much, I guess, to talk about there. But I mean, just eye candy. I mean, really.
Yeah.
And ear candy, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Sharon? Any final thoughts?
No, just anytime. We can talk anytime about this stuff. It's now like nearly 1:15 here.
Oh, wow.
So I might have to love you and leave you, as we say.
We will understand, yes.
But look, I've really enjoyed it, and I certainly look forward to the next chat. Absolutely on board. Just a little bit more notice, John.
You got it.
Notice.
We will do that.
I'll stay on top of him. I'll make sure that happens.
And and thank you so much for making the time. The time. I know it is super late there.
My pleasure.
And you really brought it, Sharon. Thank you.
Yes,
and your stories about Hobbiton, visiting Hobbiton, so cool. So we were looking forward to the next discussion.
Yes.
On Battle of the Five Armies.
A few more photos for your entertainment.
Great.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Yes.
Right.
Thank you for joining us, Sharon.
Well,
this was really fun.
No problem.
And
take care, guys.
Yeah. All right, we'll go ahead and let you go, Sharon, and we'll wrap it up after that. So
sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams.
Awesome. See ya.
Good night.
All right. So that's about all we have for this episode, right, Greta? So
I think so. Yeah, that was super fun.
It was
Sharon
awesome.
Joined us from Adelaide,
like I said,
Australia.
Sharon, she brought the goods.
Yes,
without a doubt.
She really did.
She knows those films, and I feel like she kind of puts our Tolkien fandom to shame. She's got it going on.
She really does. Yeah.
Really cool.
It's very, very cool. Yeah.
Well, if you're listening back to this, Sharon, thanks again so much for joining us, and I will definitely try to get you better notice next time, and we'll try to find a better time too that works a little bit better for you, hopefully. So thanks again to our patrons. You all rock. So that's Al Taylor, Andrew Herbert, Andrew Thomas, Asia Veneer, Bethany Engler, Brian Orr, Kat Lane, Chris Loftus, Chuck Farnung, Daniel Delaney, David Bigwood, David Dickinson, Emilio Perea, Eric Bissett, Hunter Johns, Ish of the Hammer, James Applegate, James Lindberg, Joe Towns, John Rice, Josh Sosa, Lawrence McGowan, Margaret Lyon, Matt Scarrance, Robert Franks, Sarah Murphy, Shannon Stockbridge, Travis Lawheed, Ty Miller, Dr. William Hutton, and Zeke Farmer. So,
rock stars.
If you want to be a patron, head on over to patreon.com/TolkienRoad, and you can become a patron for $1 or more per episode.
Yeah.
So you set the limit. You set how much. If you just want to do $1 one episode and that's all, that's cool. Or you can give more if you want. So, and as you know, if all else fails, leave us that 5-star review and awesome feedback on iTunes or your podcast listening app of choice.
Even if all else doesn't fail, still leave us a rating, please.
Absolutely.
A good one.
All right. Well, I'm hoping we're going to be able to go see the Tolkien film here soon.
That's right.
And so hopefully we're going to have some thoughts for you guys to share on that before too long.
Yeah, that'll be great.
All right. Well, we will. We appreciate everybody who listens, and we will talk at you next time.
Yes. Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, y'all.